All right, well, Jim, let's stay on the topic of hot breaking news here today. A story that emerged, and we had heard some whispers about it in the days in advance. And then here's the story. Dave Meltzer reporting
Uh-oh.
Bruce Prichard and Michael Hayes on temporary leave of absence from
What?
WWE. Longtime WWE creative members Bruce Prichard, 61, and Michael Hayes, aka Michael Seitz.
Son of a bitch, that's right. Bruce is younger than me, by the way. And look at the state of him, and look at he hadn't seen the south side of 200 pounds in a long fucking time, baby.
Well, speaking of which, Michael Hayes, aka Michael Seitz, 65, are currently on temporary leave of absence, according to multiple sources in the company. Both are expected back, although the time frame was said to be indefinite.
Indefinite?
That usually doesn't mean they're coming back, but let's continue. Prichard's absence is officially said to be due to a family emergency, and we'll come back to that. Hayes' absence is due to personal issues.
What?
While both absences have taken
Those
place...
are kind of interchangeable, aren't they, really?
Well, I think personal issues...
A family emergency could be a personal issue and vice versa.
They don't send you to a special facility to facilitate your or deal with your personal issues. Family issues sounds like it could be something. Well, again, we'll get back to this. While both absences have taken place at the same time, there is no actual connection between the two, and those in WWE emphasize that this is not the old guard being moved out, as people would speculate, and that both would be back. Prichard is one of the key guys in the creative chain of command, above the writing team, and directly under Paul Levesque. He had stints on and off with the company dating back to 1987. Hayes, a Hall of Famer as part of the Freebirds, a landmark group that set box office record. Oh, I'm not going to go through all his accolades there.
Did his press agent write this?
Has been with the company since retiring as a full-time wrestler in 1995. He had a short stint as a wrestler in 84, but was fired. He was a performer mentoring the Hardys, worked behind the scenes as a producer. There was immediately speculation that something was amiss when James Gibson, that's Jamie Noble, I believe,
Yes.
was listed as the producer of the Bloodline match at Crown Jewel. Hayes, who goes back with the Anawahi family to the 70s, having grown up and broken into the business in Pensacola, where the family was based at the time, was the regular agent for Reigns' matches. Hayes would work with Paul Heyman, who was heavily involved in everything Reigns related in regards to wrestling and the direction of the main angle. So that's the story. Bruce Prichard and Michael Hayes.
Wait a minute. Hold on, you've buried a lead in there. Michael Hayes since 1995. That's 29 years. Can you imagine if you had bet anybody in the wrestling business any amount of money 30 years ago that Michael Hayes would keep a job anywhere, especially a goddamn corporate environment for 29 years? Who would have possibly took that bet? That's amazing. Now, He's had a couple rocky spots, but well, here's the... You know, it does seem odd that two people who try not to ever miss anything are suddenly missing things together. Yeah, and of course there is the natural mistrust that we have for anything that the major corporations say about employees, especially after they've been bought by other major corporations.
And let's not forget, this comes on the heels of the news that Vince McMahon is indeed starting a new company with former employees of WWE.
Well, hold on now, because I guarantee there would be every possibility that it could include Bruce Prichard, but I don't know that there's any possibility that would include Michael Hayes. Just right at this particular moment. The question is, are they trying to have some distance from anybody who had anything really administratively to do with the old company because of the various pieces of publicity have come out in the last couple of weeks, and the new lawsuit or whatever. I mean, there's always potential there's something to it, or it could just be that. I mean, knock on wood that it's not, but that Bruce's wife is sick again, or that Michael needs to go away and rethink his caloric intake again, or whatever the fuck, right? But one has to wonder with the nefarious, nattering nabobs of negativity that populate the wrestling world these days.
Well, that's the thing, too. As Triple H holds on to control of the company, he obviously wants his people in place. Whether it's NXT, whether it's the producers and agents, everyone. They're his people now. He inherited Bruce Prichard. And he inherited Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes got bombed and sang at his wedding. I mean, he inherited these two guys.
Yeah, and wasn't that when they made him the first time they made him take that stuff? It makes you get sick in your stomach if you drink alcohol.
That was one of the times, I believe. Yeah.
But they inherited Bruce. It's more like he was an adopted child, and then the parents were killed in a plane crash, and he showed up on a doorstep. And here's this millionaire living his life, and suddenly he's got this delinquent child to care for. And here's another thing. Michael Hayes, 65 years old. Why the fuck doesn't he just want to go back to Pensacola and sit on the beach? What can motivate people even older than me? Because I'll guarantee you right now, I'm the farthest thing from motivated. There is no motivation in my fucking body right now. What can motivate people to go through this shit? From here to Saudi Arabia and back again, it's 65 years of fucking age.
Well, you think you would think about it differently if you didn't at any point stop the grind? I mean, I think that could be part of it, too. If you're someone who's been doing this forever, you may not want to stop. You may not be able to envision your life not doing this.
If I had been doing this as long as he's been doing this, I would have stopped it because I'd be in a fucking solitary confinement cell in either a fucking local rubber room at the puzzle factory or a penitentiary somewhere for strangling somebody.
Do you think this is an opportunity if they bring Michael back, as they're saying, a temporary leave? Is this an opportunity for him to reinvent himself and start dressing like a normal human being instead of a fucking clown? Is this a chance for him? Because no one ever saw Michael Hayes in the 80s and said, I can't wait till this guy's dressed like in a fucking zoot suit in 30 years.
With sleeves that are long enough to double as a straitjacket. Yeah, I don't know where the zoot suits came from. But hey, 23 skidoo. But no, if Michael came in like a goddamn polo shirt and the khaki slacks and fucking dress shoes with his hair slicked back, sunroof top, digging a scene with a gangster lean, it would be,
He doesn't even have to do that. It could just be blue jeans and a black t-shirt. I think that would work.
Well, that's what he wore 40 years ago. Think about every picture you see of the Freebirds. He's got blue jeans, cowboy boots, and a fucking ripped up black Freebirds t-shirt on.
And now he's dressed like he's at war with Dolomite.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a chance for him to come back and all of a sudden...
he hadn't been the same since he found Freddie on the corner and Freddie's dead. Do-do-do, do-do-do.
I don't know why this made me think of it, but I had to go to a trunk or treat for my kids. I didn't have to go, but I enjoy doing these things with my kids. It was trunk or treat where everyone in the community, gets together and it's a big event and has candy.
I think we talked about that last year, possibly.
So I go there and, actually,
how many kids did you get in the trunk?
Well, that's very funny, you sicko. Listen, I actually was telling the wrong story. I meant to say it was the Halloween parade at the school that I'm thinking of. They start playing music, right? They play the Monster Mash. Okay. That's a traditional song for Halloween. They play the Addams Family theme. Makes sense. The next song was Sweet Home Alabama. And I was just like, what the fuck? No one's reacting. I'm the only one. I'm looking for anyone that will make some kind of weird movement so I can they see it too.
You're in fucking Nose in the Air, New Jersey, and they're playing Sweet Home Alabama.
So then I'm thinking, okay, maybe, even though this is kind of the beginning, maybe they ran out of Halloween songs and they decided to go with Skynyrd. I really don't know. The next song was Thriller. So now I'm really confused. How did Sweet Home Alabama get in the middle of this? But anyway, let's go.
Did you ask anybody?
I did not ask anybody. I didn't even ask Suzanne because she didn't even pay attention to it.
Why didn't you go up and comment? Was there a DJ?
Well, there was a parade. There were teachers and students and police officers, too, doing a parade.
Where was this music coming from?
I don't know. I didn't get close enough.
Wait, how did you not get to find out how could you hear the music and not know? Was it coming from a speaker?
Well, obviously it was a speaker, but I can't tell you any of the information about the speaker or the chords or what it was hooked up to.
Was the speaker on the float, or was it just, were they just playing it in that location, or was it as the float was going down or the people were parading? Was the music going with them? You could have gotten in that line and snatched somebody by the neck.
Well, on the topic of a parade float, let's now focus on Bruce Prichard here. So Bruce Prichard, leave of absence. Again, he's one of the names that a lot of people, Ronda Rousey was very public about it, but she's not the only person to talk about it. She was just very public about it. Bruce is Vince McMahon's avatar. Bruce Prichard was brought back to WWE when Vince was looking for, at a time where we now know Vince was out of his fucking mind.
Yeah.
He was looking for loyalists, and Bruce was his guy.
Wait a minute. Now you say it like this. He was out of his fucking mind, so he hired Bruce Prichard.
Yeah, so he needed someone who wasn't going to say no.
Well, both things just happened at the same time, because I know Vince hired Bruce Prichard at least twice before he lost his mind. So those things didn't have to go together.
Again, Triple H inherits Bruce.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, is that I don't know that Stephanie has been the biggest Bruce fan in the past when the creative team was under her auspices or whatever. Bruce has had numerous, different jobs in the company over those years. It wasn't all on the creative team where they were butting heads, but they want somebody newer that's in their system with them. I mean, I don't even specifically know who that would be, but I just know how bookers and or promoters are. And especially when it's a family generational thing,
when it's someone that is a stooge for the former boss.
Well,
who still owns shares.
That is probably, that's a more, but a minute amount of shares in the overall scheme of what it was. But yeah, that was even more pronounced in the territory days where you didn't want, as you said, the stooge of the former guy there, except now they're still in the same family. So, there's an element of that, but it's not as pronounced as it used to be when you just cut all contact off with the ex-booker or the promoter you sold the territory or whatever the fuck. But they still got to see Vince at Christmas and shit. But they
don't have to see Bruce. That's my point.
Well, exactly. That's what I said too. They want their own guys, new guys in their system, people that they want to bring up. Because again, if Bruce is 61, then Triple H is also wanting somebody that's younger and svelter and more energetic and whatever, and thinks the way he thinks all the way down the line, instead of, Bruce, Vince would have said, hold on while I shit on your head.
Well, yeah, explain to me Bruce's role, too. According to this, what Dave wrote, Prichard is one of the key guys in the creative chain of command above the writing team and directly under Levesque. So what exactly is Bruce doing?
Well, there are, remember we talked about this on a recent show, I can't remember, in the last week or so, we talked about the writer's room and how many people were in the writer's room. I think it would probably be worse.
We talked about that, and we said that they talked about the unnamed wrestling people who have been in the company a long time, didn't want to upset Vince, and were doing inappropriate things, and we guessed it was Bruce and Michael Hayes, and now they announced both are taking a leave of absence.
Yeah, that is a thing that is a thing that's come up. But what I'm saying is they think that it was bad when Vince would often be in the meetings. I think, especially when Vince came back and was trying to sell this thing and probably didn't have as much time to fuck with other departments as he normally did, he wanted Bruce to be in there to shoot down the shit that he didn't have time to shoot down and or bring back to him the shit that he would like shipped directly over to him. And be that, because Bruce could filter a lot because he knows exactly what Vince would say, want, not want, etc. And potentially he's doing the same thing with Triple H, because Triple H has Shawn Michaels doing NXT, from what we understand. There's a staff of writers for Raw and SmackDown. Do you think Triple H is sitting in there with 27 of them all the fucking time? He's probably got other things to do. But he's probably also giving Bruce directions, instructions. Hey, they need to be writing for this fucking guy, or don't beat Braun Breaker, or whatever the doctrines may be that Bruce then takes to the assembled writing union over there. It's so big, it's very confusing, and that's why a lot of shit gets lost and a lot of shit gets just boring.
I guess that's kind of my question. Other than being a stooge, and other than, being able to carry a paper from one side of the room to the other.
No, I will say, no, Bruce is he's organized, and he takes, here's the thing, somebody has to fucking tell people what the boss wants if the boss ain't in the fucking room. Bruce is good at that. Bruce is very organized and detail-oriented and has notes, and he also knows how to answer questions. If you're asking, should I give Vince chocolate or strawberry, he'll be able to lead you in the direction of the right flavor, all that type of. So he's serving a purpose as a goddamn, go-between.
His expertise is being the go-between between you and Vince McMahon.
Yes.
That's what it is.
The royal you there, not just me specifically.
When he was in MLW, when he was in Impact, I think it was at the time. I don't remember exactly. I think it was Impact at the time.
Yes, and I fired him.
Yeah, that's right.
It became Global Force.
I don't know who you talk to or what you hear, but I talked to talent, and every one of them no one was impressed with Bruce in a creative role. Without his role just being relaying Vince's stuff when it was Bruce on his own, people did not think he really had a clue what he was doing.
Well, if we were still in 1994 with TL Hopper or whatever the fuck, that, the underneath gimmicks, and then if he had a couple of main event guys that he could replicate some late 80s WWF type of programs, but that's Bruce's problem, is he spent so much time working with Vince that's what he's got there, except without the overall big picture, evil empire magnate. It's very WWF-ish from years ago, but I haven't been around him in a while in a creative capacity.
Well, we will follow up on any news that we hear about Michael Hayes or Bruce Prichard. And of course, if anything's wrong with any of their family members, we wish everyone the very best.
And we take back anything insulting that we said.
Well, not everything.